Yes, yes. You're listening to Purple City Soufflé's Sunday Club, the film review show where our couchband reporters Ashley and Matthew sit on the sofa of a Sunday morning, hungover from the night before, and watch whatever shit they found in the charity shop that week. Hangovers maximum, insightful film criticism minimum. It's Sunday Club.
Welcome to Sunday Club. This is King Arthur, the Guy Ritchie movie. Guy Ritchie, lads, only meant to bash the doors in. So he's done the new version of King Arthur. You're joined by myself, Ashley, and Bayfield on the other side of the table with me.
Good afternoon.
Let's get straight into it. It starts with the battle for Camelot. Is that correct?
I mean, possibly. It just looks like a scene from fucking Warhammer.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
It's all a bit Lord of the Rings budget Warhammer rip-off.
So it's all like King Arthur's dad here. Or it is his dad, isn't it? Or
Yeah, so Eric Banner in the role of Uther Pendragon.
Pendragon himself. And he's fighting.
Good old boy.
He's fighting to
Save the world from a nondescript magical bad guy who wants to let magicians run the world. It's hastily explained and quickly glossed over.
When I was watching it, I didn't quite get what was going on at first. I just saw a bunch of blokes fighting some elephants with giantism.
Elephants that weren't to scale.
Yeah.
I know, they're fucking massive elephants. Which, I get what they would do. Again, I mean, they're just trying to be cool, which, fair play. It's just a stupid summer movie, but it just looked like a shit Lord of the Rings because they have big elephants in that, and they look a lot better, and that was made 10 years ago. Is basically the problem. Eric Banner's trying quite hard.
He does try very hard.
Jude Law looks completely confused in this opening sequence.
I mean, he's just holding out for like scenes where he can do some actual acting.
Yeah.
Everyone is just jumping around some guys dressed in bright green, in a green screen sort of role.
But yeah, the intro it almost doesn't need to exist.
No.
Like, it's just, I mean, I get that they need to set the scene and, need to explain that the sword, and then Banner gets betrayed and murdered by Jude Law, and then obviously the old sword goes into the lake, and then we get to the credit sequence, which is like, basically within his son, Arthur, the man who would be king, not Sean Connery. So Arthur buggers off down the river on a little boat, and then we see him grow up in a credit sequence.
That's it now.
Which I actually quite liked, because it just got it out the way quickly.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, it steams through him growing up, but it does it in this really choppy montage editing
well, it's
kind
just
of way.
typical Guy Ritchie. But it's kind of like, I sort of thought in this, it's almost like someone imitating Guy Ritchie. It's like he's lost his own special skill. Like, that used to be the thing.
Well, this is what I was going to say. So Guy Ritchie was really scathing of the TV series Snatch. It was like, it's got nothing to do with me. I don't like it. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm not involved in it. I just let them do their own thing with my.
I didn't know there was a TV series.
It's horrible. Anyway, watching this, it just looked like something from the TV series, from the Guy Ritchie TV series set in medieval times.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of speed ramps and close-ups and zooms in and out.
Exactly, I mean,
but it does nip through the plot, which I quite like.
It nips through his childhood, and I don't need that much Charlie Hunnam, in one film. I don't really need to see him growing up from spotty-faced Charlie through his adolescence, getting picked on puberty, his first kiss, his first girlfriend, all that bullshit. I don't really need it.
And I thought it was interesting, considering how long it took them to just basically get to the point where Arthur throws the sword in the lake and gets betrayed, which took about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
They then do this in under 1 minute, which is like it's a bit of an about face.
Yeah.
But quite a welcome one.
Very welcome one. It's a bit I did like about that was they sort of chucked young Arthur into water. I thought it was quite funny. Some really good childish bullying.
Oh yeah, that's quite good. Where he gets
It's like a medieval version of having your head flushed down the toilet.
There's one scene of him getting his head flushed at school, and that instantly means we're supposed to be sympathetic to him for the rest of the film. And then we cut to him. He's just shirtless for like the whole first 10 minutes. Charlie Hunnam. I believe. There's just shots of him boxing really fast with no shirt on and sweating a lot.
That's the end
Then
of his childhood.
then he wakes up. Well, I mean, the end of everyone's childhood is boxing really fast and sweating a lot.
Yeah.
Then he wakes up in bed,
Well, he wakes up in bed,
shirtless and sweating a lot.
He's wearing a shirt here because I remember he just wears the same colour throughout the entire thing. So he's just walking around in ikru for the entire film.
He does actually look like he's been shopping at Zara.
Does,
There's a lot of sort of biscuit-coloured menswear, sort of loose linen shirts going on.
The poor man's Massimo Dutti throughout the whole film.
He looks like he's just come from holiday in the south of France, which he probably has.
But yeah, no, I mean, we get to sort of learn a bit more about modern day King Arthur, or soon to be King Arthur, here. We learn about his character and his mates. Get sort of a.
And he lives in a brothel, which I thought was a nice touch. That he's a street urchin who lives in a brothel, and he's a bit of a well, he's meant to be a bit of a wheeler and dealer,
Yeah.
but Hunnam never quite gels with. It doesn't quite gel with the wheel and deal mentality.
He doesn't, and you know, it's painfully trying to be Wellard, Guy Ritchie, Cockney style, and you know, it's just. It doesn't really work with him. I don't really think it works that well with his mates. I mean, with some it does, with some it's a bit forced.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good cast. Like the UK, the British actors who kind of play his little crew are quite good. But like, what sums up is that scene where the guy, one of the Blacklegs, who are the king's sort of personal, the main police nuts. They come in looking for a guy. They're looking for Goose Fat Bill, the wonderfully named. I mean, you've got to respect the name in this, if nothing else.
I think
who's played by Aidan Gillen, I think it is.
Yeah. But I mean, everyone in this has a ridiculous name.
But some of them have shit names. Like one of his best mates is called Wet Stick.
Yeah.
And the other one's called Backlack, which are like they're not even kind of laddie street names. They're just nonsense that's been assembled.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even get the name Wet? Like, Goose Fat Bill, at least it's got a certain style
Goose Fat
to
Bill
it.
is hilarious.
I quite like that one, but Wet Stick's just
Wet
a bit
Stick.
shit.
You know,
Just a bit.
like someone used to bully in school, you know.
Yeah.
So we've met his mates.
Well, we haven't really. That's half the problem.
No, we've met.
They've been named, but they've not actually got any character, and no one knows what they do. They're just there with him being mates.
I mean, then it trots into that strange kind of story.
Yeah, that's like. Feels like what somewhat, you know, like when you watch those shit gangster films from about 5 years ago, where everyone was imitating Guy Ritchie and doing the like, I was saying this, what are you saying? And everyone's cutting in, and it's really like
black the bookies, get shoot the guy in the face,
really kinetically edited. It's like that, but it's like he's forgotten how to do his own trick at this point, and they all just sound embarrassed, like they sound really awkward with the dialogue because all of Arthur in particular, Charlie Hunnam, feels like he hasn't made the decision between being laddie roustabout London Cockney Arthur or King Arthur. And at this point, he should definitely just be laddie roustabout. Even if he switched later, there should still be but he's not committed either way, and you can tell.
When you live in a whorehouse and you got mates named Kung Fu Dave or George or whatever it was.
And Fat Stick or whatever his name was.
Fat Stick.
Kung Fu Dave and Fat Stick. But yeah, it's just not like he's almost a bit too kingly at this point.
Yeah.
When he's meant to be a streety bastard. And he's meant to be charming, and he's actually just a bit rude and a bit obnoxious. He's not very charming, and that's kind of what they're going for, I think. Which it's just kind of weird. Like it doesn't really work. And yeah, when he's trying to do that, like I'm telling a story, and he's relaying how they found basically all the plot is set up in this weird back and forth of them telling a story and being interrupted by this sergeant who's like getting the info off him.
Yeah.
And it just, considering it's basically the key setup for the film, it just doesn't fucking work. It's just awkward, and the script is ugh.
The script is even like the sort of the small speaking part characters, like, you know, you'd expect them just like get someone who has a bit about them and, you know, understand, and then like some of them just stick out like a sore thumb. Like that prostitute, she sounds like Sonia from EastEnders and kind of looks a bit like her too.
Yeah, it might be Sonia from EastEnders. Where was Danny Dyer when the casting of this film was going on, man?
Been there.
How was he not a name that was waved around at some point?
Like going back to his Green Street hooligan days, you know, he definitely should have channeled some of that, and he just.
What's interesting, he's an English actor because obviously he's a Geordie from Biker Grove, no less. He started with PJ and Duncan in that era of Biker Grove, but he's been out in the US for God knows how long, and he did Sons of Anarchy, and his US accent's pretty convincing in that. Yeah. And he actually sounds now. His accent's such a wreck. It's all like he sounds more convincing when he's being a Yank than when he's doing his real accent. But yeah, by the end of that scene, it's just exhausting. By the time you finally... And you miss all the details because you're so busy watching the edits and just him going, I'm telling a story, you writing a novel, blah, blah, blah.
It's like everyone's been given a rule of, like, no one can say more than 3 words before the next person speaks.
Oh, it's that thing where they all step on each other's...
A Cockney lads go medieval, as in, like...
Yeah, and he doesn't come across as a charming Cockney. He comes across as an arrogant Essex estate agent.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's going to sell you a 2-bed semi somewhere near Luton.
Yeah, it just just, I don't know, it kind of damages the film a little bit, because it's kind of like when people do hip hop Shakespeare.
Yeah, it's that thing, isn't it? It's exactly like that.
The idea is alright, but execution is almost always
awkward as fuck.
Yeah.
Basically, it's that same. Yeah, you're right.
You're not connecting with Shakespeare fans. You're not connecting with hip hop.
Yeah. Who's this grey area that you think are going to come and enjoy this? No, that's exactly what it is. I didn't think of that. Then again, it gets a bit muddy. He then has to run away because they've had a fight with some Vikings who the police are protecting.
That's it.
So then Backlack, Fat Stick, turns up Baccarat. Burt Baccarat turns up at his house and says, "Oh, come on, call blimey, King Arthur. I mean, not King Arthur, you're just Arthur. The old police is on the way. You're going to go out the window because they're at the front door, bloody hell." So he goes out the window and then gets caught anyway.
Yeah.
By someone waiting at the window.
it's like, oh, we've got us surrounded, we've got to go. Buzz and Speed's like, I'm going to sail this ship. All right, mate, where's your ship? You ain't getting on no boat. You're getting on my boat.
Yeah. You are getting on a boat. I said you weren't getting on a boat, but you are getting on a boat. So anyway, then he gets on a boat, and there's a shot of a boat. So if you were really confused by the back and forth dialogue, you go, "Oh right, so he is going to be on a boat now." Like,
yeah, just not his boat.
No, not your boat. Not your boat, mate. This is my boat. He gets on a boat and he goes to see. Well, it's meant to be the front of Vortigern's castle, where he's testing all the people that age, because obviously he knows that Uther Pendragon's son has disappeared into the ether, and he's the only person that can pull the sword from the stone. So everyone, I think, because there's a bit where he says you're not branded, and I believe, obviously it's not explained even slightly, but anyone that can't pull the sword out of the stone gets branded, and then they know that they've checked him, and they're checking everyone of his age. He then has to go and check check if he can pull the sword from the stone.
But in like proper non-British fashion. He barges his way through.
Yeah, he's really rude. That's the thing. He's meant to be this charming roustabout, and he just kind of threatens people and bullies his way through the crowd, which isn't charming and not British at all.
But it works because everyone's sort of like in their dark grey, and they're like, "Oh, don't touch him." It's like the cue to the bird kind. And then
don't touch him. He's dressed like a white Magnum.
He's dressed like he's gonna get us all kicked out.
He is literally he's those Larry Essex people that turn up coked off their face in clubs in cream linen trousers and like a linen shirt, just going, "All right, who will come wants a 2 up, 2 down in Luton?" And there's a lot of this. There's just tons of this shit.
Yeah.
But then luckily, this is probably the peak of the film for me.
For me, it was like the best part.
So Arthur approaches the sword in the stone. He's looking a little perplexed, as most of the audience probably are, because no one's got a fucking clue what's happening at this point. By this point, I'd almost completely lost the thread of what was meant to be happening.
I was back on the thread at this part.
Luckily, a knight turns around with a savagely scarred face, played by David Beckham.
David bloody Beckham.
Old DB7 himself.
DB7 David Beckham.
Yes. So then we get the most ridiculous cameo of all time. David Beckham playing a prison warden knight.
Yeah. And he just like they've made him up to look like a pissed up Sean Bean.
He does, yeah. He looks a bit like Sean Bean in Clean Skin.
Yeah.
I've just come from a chemical peel and I'm feeling a bit rough. I had a couple of pints on the train to level me out.
So Beckham's like, "Oh yeah, your arms round it like this, governor."
But he has the best line in the film. 10 digits round the blunt bit, give it a tug. Is 10 digits round the blunt bit, give it a tug. I mean, they could have probably made back the budget if they'd have just put that on a t-shirt and sold it. I would have bought one.
I would have bought 10.
The thing is, I realised at this point, it was like, that was actually what tweaked. At that point, I knew the film was only going to get worse. Yeah. As soon as Beckham turned up with a key cameo.
When Beckham turns up in your film, it's not going to be good.
And let's suspend it like Beckham, which is really good. And he has a little. Does he have a cameo in there?
Yeah, at the very end. And in Goal 2. And apparently in The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Oh, for fuck's sake. He's all over the gap. Is he selling Hague Club whiskey to The Man from U.N.C.L.E. or something?
I mean, that's got to be the only job he'd have in there, right?
I mean, I assume so.
There's no football.
It's not like when Cantona turned up in that great film.
Which one?
I can't remember, but it's really funny. Cantona just turns up with a big beard and has like a philosophical monologue, and then it's just like, "See you later." I mean, I think if the rest of the film had just been like weird football cameos, like Rude Hullett's running a tavern, and like Steve Bruce is just like pissed up being a lout on a dockyard or something.
But you know what?
Would have been a much better film.
You know what? And this is probably the only ever time I thought this. I've seen this character and I thought, God, I wish Vinnie Jones was playing this character.
Yeah. You know it's bad when you want Vinnie Jones back in the film.
We haven't had that thought before or since. But Vinnie Jones would massively do better than David Beckham.
Yeah, I mean, Beckham just doesn't really make any sense in it at all. But he does explain what he needs to do with the sword. Have a bang on that. Here, love. Have a bang on that. See that sword? Grab the blunt end. Have a bang on that. Yeah, 10 digits. Hey.
Oh god, the best thing about Beckham's character though is that his name is Trigger.
Yeah, if you check the credits, he's never name checked, but if you check the credits, he is called Trigger, which is great. Like Roy Rogers' horse was Trigger, I believe.
Probably. That character from Only Fools and Horses as well.
That's probably, unfortunately, that's probably more what they were referencing. The evil man David Jason, dickhead. Anyway, enough about David Jason.
Moving.
So yeah, he then passes out. He pulls the old.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, he manages to pull the sword out of the stone, and it goes really Demon Headmaster.
Who'd again? What, they got crap blue screen effects?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, actually no, you're right.
If I remember right, he's like, whoa, shaking about like he's got the
yeah, and his eyes go a bit blue, and it looks like a lightsaber for a moment, which is a bit. I thought they went a bit too far with the old sword glowing blue and stuff.
But you see that? I mean, that didn't look very Star Wars because it didn't look very good.
yeah, there's that.
Therefore, it just looked a bit Demon Headmaster, as in 5:30 p.m. on a weekday after school.
Post news round excitement.
Exactly, post news round excitement.
You've just watched Ellie Crisell in 2002 deliver the news and gone, oh, she's well pretty. And then so what happens after he passes out? Oh, he wakes up and Jude Law has his first bit of acting.
And actually, Jude Law, unfortunately, because I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he is.
I've got time for him.
He takes the role very seriously here.
He's committed to the. He's picked a role and he's made a decision on the performance and kind of gone for it.
I mean, he always does. He always does sort of take jobs seriously, no matter how bad the film is or how out of character the film is or whatever.
He's probably not made a good film for about a decade. I genuinely can't think of that. He's all right in Sherlock Holmes was all right, which was actually Guy Ritchie. Dare I say it?
Yeah.
But he's made some shit lately.
I mean, I think about like Alfie, and Alfie was like a terrible film.
That was an atrocious film.
Yeah, and it's like
the best thing he's done recently is The Holiday, the Christmas-based rom-com with Renee Zellweger and Jack Black, where they all swap houses over Christmas and fall in love. It's very it's standard bullshit rom-com. Yeah, but it's nice bad. It's a load of crap, but it's a nice load of crap you can get drunk and watch on Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was one of them classics. If you wanted someone round at Christmas, you wanted to possibly try and get in their pants. The Holiday might be a good. This sounds more chauvinist than it actually should be.
I mean, I kind of want to see it now.
No, I mean this whole podcast sounds. This whole podcast sounds more chauvinist than it actually is. We're not those sorts of lads. As much as we love King Arthur and his lads.
I do love King Arthur and his lads.
I don't. I thought it was a fucking woeful film.
Well, there's something wrong with you. No, it's not.
No, fucking
shit. Wrong with me, to be honest.
But yeah, Jude Law's he's just the right side of hammy in it.
Yeah.
And he's committed to. He's picked a style and he sticks with it throughout. Whereas everyone else skits between I'm a cheeky roustabout lad and now I'm not, and he's just like he's picked his performance and he sticks to it, and he's the best thing in it by a fucking mile.
I mean, Hannon, like he's like he wants to be cockney for the entire thing. The entire thing he wants to be, and he keeps on switching back to the accent that is somewhere between Nottingham and New York, and it's just like. Just it's either commit or don't. Yeah,
it's like a good example of the old accent argument, which is a long-running argument. Is Tom Cruise in Valkyrie, where he plays a Nazi, he plays a German soldier, but he just sticks to his American accent because he can't do the accent. So it would be more distracting to have Cruise run around going, oh yeah, it's Tom Cruise, yeah, let's shoot the Hitler.
I would love to see it.
Although I would have watched, I would have watched that. I think there are screen tests of him sounding woeful. But yeah, it's really weird. Like it's like the pastiche of it all being so Lord of the Rings at this point, where there's like glowing swords and all, undercuts the fact that he's like a street urchin, King Arthur.
Yeah, I mean,
and it was.
about that.
That's what I mean. By that point, they just sort of forget the whole idea of him being a bit of a lad, and it's just like it's a waste of an idea because I would have rather have seen them go ham on the streety, snatchy nonsense of it and commit to it.
I mean, it seems like they should be different films here. Like it feels like these parts should be separate films. Like the very start bit, the war at the beginning, that should be a film in itself.
Well, apparently they had 6 planned. Obviously, now that it's tanked financially, they probably won't bother. Well, I find it interesting. Like at this point, we're like what 30, 45 minutes in. I mean, it felt like about 4 hours because
it should be a film in its own.
Well, that's it. Like if they'd have spent a film getting him and his crew, ducking and diving and doing a bit of caper, like kind of a caper film of them lot, you'd already love them. Make it on the cheap. And by the cheap, I mean like 50 million, not 175,
whatever,
which is the ridiculous budget of this.
Yeah.
And if it works, you've then got plenty of goodwill and space and money to do a bigger film, which is this one. But it's like this one's like 3 into a franchise that's never going to happen now.
Yeah.
And I even early on, I was like, "There's like so." I'd rather have seen him and his crew meeting the kind of the team who he'll meet in the shortly.
Yeah.
And in fact, let's get on to that because
Right. Well, I mean, the next section is actually is when his surgeon will be executed. Because Vortigern's already at the sword
That's right.
ceremony.
Yeah,
And
he's there. He
like,
witnesses that.
I don't know about that. It's kind of very gladiator-esque.
That's me, boy. Yeah, he's just Joaquin Phoenix in
Pretty
Gladiator,
much, yeah.
basically.
It's in Gladiator, yeah.
In essence, if you're wondering why we reference every film ever in this, it's because it literally steals a little bit from every film ever. It's you can tell that Guy Ritchie's just gone, shit, I've got to make a Sword and Sandals Chaz and Dave epic.
Yeah.
I better sit and watch all of the Chaz and Dave songs and a couple of films involving sandals and swords.
And somehow incorporate a rabbit.
Rabbit. It feels like he's done more Chaz and Dave than... The whole thing sounds like an offcut from Ogden's Not Done Flake by Small Faces. It's all just people going, how's your bird's lumbago?
But yeah, no, he's essentially executed by the king now because, now he goes on a run.
Yeah, because they all turn up to bust him out.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Yeah, it's this mysterious woman named the Mysterious Mage.
She's just called the Mage. The Mage.
The Mage of Mage.
I think
sure.
the Mage. It's just Harold Bishop's wife from Neighbours.
No,
Madge is here. She's going to get me
I
out.
think it's Hannah Jackson. One minute he's saying Madge, next minute he's saying Mage.
Yeah, he struggles to say anything the same twice. Like, as long as he doesn't have to repeat a word, you don't notice how much his accent falters.
But yeah, no, her and her crew set out to rescue young not yet king.
Goose Fat Bill being part of the crew, who's been name-checked earlier because he shoots him in the leg whilst fighting some Vikings, which is what gets him in trouble in the first place.
Yeah. So,
And then there's Jimon Hounsou as Bedivere. Is he Bedivere?
he is Bedivere, yeah.
Which I thought this was a nice twist.
I thought it was
The
very
kind of, obviously, there'll be the Knights of the Round Table. Well, they won't now because there's not going to be any sequels.
Well, yeah.
But had there have been some sequels, they would have been the Knights of the Round Table. But I liked that it was an equal opportunities Knights of the Round Table. There was, you had Kung Fu George, Fat Stick Ted. I don't know.
Brown nose Philip.
Redhead Kate. I don't know.
Brown shoes Nigel.
I don't know. There was a lot. I mean, Kung Fu George was an actual one.
Kung Fu George was the actual one.
And he-
Backpack was Bedivere, Goose Fat Bill.
Goose Fat Bill.
Oh, who else? There was one other, wasn't there?
Well, Kung Fu George comes into it later because he trains.
Yeah.
What you
this
barely
is-
notice
this-
in the opening sequence that's really hectically edited is he's the one training Arthur to street fight. He's the guy. But then I thought it was interesting actually on that note that you never see Arthur do any street fighting.
No.
After you see it in the opening credits and it's like built up like he can handle himself. He's a bit tasty. He's a bit of a goer. And then he does nothing with it. And there's not even one scene where he has I would have rather them just cut out some other shit and have him punch someone in the face a bit.
I mean, he just sort of gets in. Well, he doesn't even get in sword fights because he passes out every time he picks up a bloody sword.
Yeah, that doesn't help. Every time it kicks off, he just faints. He's a bit like Captain Scarlet, how he's invincible, but every time he gets hurt, he goes to sleep for 24 hours. So his invincibility's a bit naff because he's just dozing off whenever.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, we need King Arthur. Oh, he's fallen asleep again.
Passed out in the bar, yeah.
He's on the deck.
He's passed out in the Prossy's house. Yeah. He's passed out on top of Sonia. Oh no.
And I find as well, like the lines are like, especially Charlie Hunnam, because he speaks very slowly in this, whereas the dialogue's blatantly written to be like Jason Statham, hello, snappy.
He's talking a mile a minute, yeah.
And Charlie Hunnam speaks so slowly in it that it just completely, when he's saying the lines, it's like they're being dragged out of his face by a mythical director, possibly Guy Ritchie, who apparently wasn't on set at all because there's no direction in any of it.
But it's funny that you say about the fighting because I think it's called King Arthur: Legend of the Sword. You expect sword fighting. You expect a lot of sword.
Very little.
It's just like the punch-ups.
No, there's not even any of that though.
There's like a couple.
There's
it's like the bit where
was I asleep?
I think you might have been.
Did I miss this bit?
I remember this part. Arthur's like walking around real leery with his mates, and he's like, "Yeah, no, you're all gonna show me how to fight." It might have been like the Mage's mates or something. Her motley crew of numbnuts. And he's like,
oh yeah, sorry, yeah, there was, yeah. So when
like,
they first meet him, there's that little
it.
testing scene.
And that's, like he kicks one of them in the nuts, headbutts the other. I think he bites the other one's ear off, give someone like a...
He's no Tyson.
He's no Tyson, but like he's not used the sword at all. Then when he picks one up again, he passes out again.
Yeah, that's what he does. Yeah,
scene.
maybe you should just stick to like giving people Timothy Dalton headbutts.
I think so.
Timothy Dalton.
Bunny punching people.
Rabbit punches all round. Joe, we're back to Chaz and Dave.
Oh, funny that.
So yeah, and then his mates appear from nowhere because the team come and like the mage and the kind of the Bedivere and that appear. He then fights them just to prove he can be a bit fighty, which is weird. Yeah. And then it just cuts and there's like, because we actually rewound it to check we hadn't missed a bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
And there's just him and his mates are there and they're like, you all right? Because he has a big black eye and that from where he's... Oh no, because actually we jumped a bit.
Later, yeah.
He goes to the Badlands. They take him to the Darklands, that's it. Badlands is a much better film. I'd have rather watched Badlands or Copland. Copland would have been better than any land, any other land. Disneyland, Badlands, Copland trumps them all. So he goes to the Darklands and...
is phenomenal. I mean, it's phenomenally bad. It's like, I
think this is probably the worst sequence in the film.
When I saw it, I thought, why has he just jumped into Universal's virtual reality?
Why the fuck's he at a theme park with a VR headset on? It's just...
It's like that bit in Lawnmower Man where it's flying through an MS-DOS paint.
You leave Lawnmower Man's name out of this.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I got for the Darklands, one of my notes from earlier is everything's so light, like everything's shot really bright and colourful. And even the Darklands are shot in daylight.
Yeah.
So everything's just in daytime because it's easier to shoot, basically.
Yeah.
He just ends up getting dragged around by pterodactyls, he's fighting big slug things, there's like CGI shitting out of...
5,000 animals, and some of them are even helping him.
Which like that one picks him up and carries him around, and then he has a sword fight with a bunch of other CGI. But it's like...
a giant rat.
They're blatantly trying to do the Lord of the Rings thing.
Yeah.
But obviously in that, like the cave troll sequence in Lord of the Rings is it's brilliantly made for a start. And but there's one bad guy, the big troll, and they're all fighting it. And there's some little shitty ones that they get dispatched. But in this, they've like brought a million cave trolls in at once, going, oh, the more we put in, the cooler it'll be, and the more money we'll make. And it's like, just do one scene really well instead of trying to do 4 billion shit ones, which is what they do. And it's just, and there's no, I put as well, another note I've got is this film has no dirt. It's meant to be all gritty and real London streak, and everyone's buffed to a sheen. Like his hair. How many pots of wet look gel does he use?
Exactly. It's like Roger Moore in The Saint. It's like his head does not move at all.
But Roger Moore's allowed to get away with that.
Roger Moore's always allowed to get away with that. I mean, and that's why he was the best James Bond ever.
No, he's not Pierce Brosnan.
He's no Pierce Brosnan, you're right about that.
We're going to do a special about Pierce Brosnan films, just all Pierce Brosnan films.
Ooh,
that's a special. We should. Yeah, that's what we should do.
Which one should we do? We'll save that for another thing.
Yeah, that's another thing. Don't worry about that. I noticed I've just got the note here. This is preposterous, and not even in a good way. Like I love a preposterous film, but at this point I'd just given up.
Disappointed in Guy Ritchie by saying that.
yeah. It's just like I'd just really like.
It's like you just wrote in red pen, "See me."
Please, Guy, please see me. He finally gets he holds the sword without passing out.
Yeah.
And he has the flashback to how Eric Bana.
Well, this is when we find out about
him being he finally understands his lineage to the throne.
So in this scene, he sees his dad fighting a demon-looking vision,
of a headmaster.
The demon who fights.
He's fighting the demon headmaster.
Yeah. And young Arthur is staring at it, watching his father perish to the demon headmaster.
But what I love about this bit is, at this point, Eric Bana literally turns into a stone and sinks into the water. And I was like, visually, that's basically what this film did at the box office, which I retrospectively found that highly amusing, that Eric Bana literally turns into a stone and sinks through, basically.
Yeah, he will never be in any others in this sequence.
Yeah, and then his mate. Then it cuts to him and his mates, and he's got his black eye from his adventure in the Darklands. And his mates are just sat there with no explanation. His mates are Backlack and Wetstick, by the way, who have just disappeared. No one explains where they've been. Have they been looking for him? Have they been down the old brothel having a few jars?
What have they actually been doing though? Because
fuck all, apparently.
It's like they haven't been helping him in the Darklands, which would have been nice.
He had no mates in there. Sheeman Hansu just stood around and watched, going, which I got time for that. Yeah, I do love Sheeman Hansu. But yeah, I mean, and then they sort of all team up, and they decide it's sort of. I mean, I've just written down it's caper time because it's like when they do their little.
time,
We're gonna go execute the king. You get in here. You do this,
right.
and they
Oh yeah, so they have the sort of the war room kind of meeting of how it's going to work. This is the kind of the typical Guy Ritchie. We'll blag the bookies.
Yeah.
Beat the book. Do the
Except instead of blagging the bookies, they're gonna shoot the flaming arrow. We're gonna fire Christian Slater over the wall on a catapult. Morgan Freeman's gonna have a big curvy sword. Prince of Thieves.
It's no Ben-Hur.
It's no Prince of Thieves either.
Well,
Is it? It's probably worse than Ben-Hur. No, I take that back. It's not. It's not. At least it's really expensively made.
It's
Ben-Hur's.
more than Ben-Hur, yeah.
At least it looks expensive.
And well, actually, but I mean, then.
But yeah, it's like we're now at like what? We're an hour in here. I mean, it felt like a week.
It felt like 3 months into
But
it, yeah.
like, and they've only just got the crew together, so it's like either at that point I think you either need to break the narrative and have the team get together very early on, and then it's about the team bonding, or the team get together at the very end, and the next film is the team doing their thing. But it's bang in the middle. It's like you've started the Dirty Dozen 1 hour into another film. You've just like gone, oh, should we do a bit of that Dirty Dozen?
Yeah.
You know, the magic of that film was they spent an hour training, an hour at war, and you cared about them by the time they got to war. In this, it's like they've only just met an hour in.
It's like a Rocky film. It's like you learn of him being a street urchin, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
And growing up to be like a professional boxer, and they do it in montage editing as well. They do it a lot better, and it takes up about half the film.
And it's overdubbed by like Eye of the Tiger by.
And they even have an actor who can't even talk. Most of these guys have like words apart from.
Most of this lot can talk better than Stallone ever could. And Stallone, apart from possibly Hunnan, he's still struggling at this point. I've also just got the note, fucking hell, this film is long. That's what I wrote after the Dirty Dozen bit.
I mean, that goes without saying. This assassination attempt is phenomenal, though, because it's when you finally realise that our boy, Goose Fat Bill, is a proper badass.
He's a bit tasty. He's not
tasty.
Badass as American. He's a bit tasty.
Naughty.
He's a bit naughty. He's proper naughty with a bow and arrow. That Goose Fat Bill. He's a bit naughty, isn't he?
Great man. Right, so Goose Fat Bill looks out on the range where he thinks the king is going to be, and the king set a trap. Of course, it's a trap.
Yeah, with that character from it's the actress whose name I forget from Peaky Blinders.
Oh, right.
And she's like there to set him up. I couldn't work out where she'd appeared previously. Yeah, where she'd appeared previously talking to this lot to be on their side.
I can't remember that.
She was in there somewhere. I remember seeing her, but by this point, the narrative had completely disappeared.
Was she in the whorehouse? I don't know. But
I've just added again. Actually, my next note after that is fucking hell. This film is long.
The proper badass in this. Proper naughty.
Naughty! He's a bit tasty. That Goose Fat Bill's a bit tasty.
Larry Goose Fat.
Larry Goose Fat.
Larry Goose Fat's like, bang, shoots his arrow straight across the field from like 1,000 yards.
Yeah, and hits the sign that his mates are putting up.
No, that's before. That was when they were doing the training.
Oh yeah, sorry.
As a little motley crew of dimwits.
They had that.
He fires and like hits one of the king's top henchmen.
That's right, because he's got a personal vendetta. See, this is that thing again. He's got a personal vendetta against this top boy. He's the king's top boy.
He's the top boy, isn't he?
But there's no explanation as to what this is. And the guy who he's like the top boy, you've barely seen him before other than one scene, so you don't know anything about this relationship or give a shit. And it becomes the key. Like they all end up getting chased because obviously he gives their position away by executing him.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's like.
It's not the king, it's a trap.
And he's like, yeah, but he gets one because we've got old blood or some shit like cockney.
I've got him. I proper killed him.
But it's like you've just ruined your team's chance of escape. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But if there'd have been some emotional backstory where you actually knew who he hated and why, that might be of note. But I'm just like. I was just nonplussed at this point. I was like, what are you even doing now?
Yeah.
Like everyone's just running around shouting whatever piece of script someone's thrown at them. And then they run to Kung Fu George's.
That's it, they go to Kung Fu George's.
Is his name Kung Fu? It's Kung Fu someone.
It's Kung Fu George.
I'm sure there's a character in Lock, Stock called Kung Fu something.
There's a guy in Gavin and Stacey called Chinese Bill or something like that.
Nah, I'm sure it's
Dave.
I'm sure it's a Guy Ritchie. There's a Guy Ritchie picture where someone's called like Kung Fu George.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's probably Revolver.
Oh God! I've actually got a note about that for later on. There's a note.
That's funny. Well,
Do you know what I actually think though? If I had to rate Ritchie's films on sheer enjoyment, Revolver's top. Because I honestly was enthralled by how nuts and shit it was all the way through. And the other films, Guy Ritchie's technically very talented. I really like the way he assembles films. I just don't like that. As we said earlier, he's one of them guys who's been ripped off endlessly since he did Snatch and Lock, Stock. But I'm not a huge fan of Lock, Stock. I quite like Snatch. Because that's more fun. Snatch is a bit sillier. But Revolver's like... It's like a fucking psychedelic nightmare. It's just like a car crash in super high def, mad colours.
What's strange, and I know you've not seen Man from U.N.C.L.E., but it goes a bit more it goes into that sort of semi-psychedelic, like 60s kind of good cop, bad cop TV show. A little bit Hawaii 5-0 without the fancy shirts and blazers that roll up to your sleeves.
Oh, well, I mean,
to your elbows, rather. What's
the point if you haven't got that? Well, but it's like this film, like we said. I think this film needed to go further into being silly. It's trying to be a serious film, but everyone's called fucking Fat Stick and Goosebat Joe, and there's Kung Fu George from Round the Way being a bit naughty or whatever. And it's like, if they'd have embraced the silliness of it and just gone balls to the wall with, and if Hunnam was much more like committed to just being a cockney, because imagine one of Chaz and Dave becoming King of England. That's how this film should have played out. Just like, roll out the barrel, I'm bloody king. For those of you listening, which you are because we're not filming, everyone's pretending to ping braces as we speak at the moment.
I've been doing that ever since I watched the film. Ever since the film started, to be fair. So
they do this. They fail to do the assassination attempt, and then Goose Fat Bill gives their position away, which no one calls him up on for being a selfish dick later. Even as a team, you don't endanger your boys.
I mean, he did endanger his boys because Backlack gets.
Backlack gets captured. They escape to Kung Fu George's, and then. I tell you, but I thought that was because at this point I realised there's actually, for an action film, it's a summer blockbuster. We're about 6 weeks into the film at this point, and there's still not really been a big action sequence. There's been a lot of people have been shitting exposition like they've got diarrhea. And they get to Kung Fu George, and you're like, right, he's a bit naughty with the old hands. He's a tasty fist fighter. Kung Fu George runs a bloody Kung Fu school. It's going to be a big Kung Fu thing.
You'd expect it.
And there's a little bit of that, and then he just picks up his sword, and everyone melts in a CGI explosion.
It starts off as a proper pub punch-up.
Yeah, and then it just disappears. It literally fizzles out.
You can't do a sword fight, so it's just hold the sword, and then everyone will just be vaporized.
And then he faints again.
Of course he does.
But it's just do a big punch-up, because by this point, you should have had at least 3. The film, in terms of action beats, this film doesn't have... It has your obligatory Lord of the Rings opening, and then basically shit all happens for an hour whilst they don't introduce any characters, don't really move the plot along, and don't really explain the motivations of the villains or the heroes. And then when it's finally time for the dust-up, they go, fuck that, we'll just do some CGI and make them all disappear.
Just vaporise a lot of them,
And it's a really weird... I mean, at this point I realised it was beyond redemption. I was completely checked out.
I mean, at this point...
Well, no, I mean, I was already checked out, but by this point I was like... Because I sort of had that... Well, maybe the last half hour will just be balls to the wall.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you expect.
I mean, have you seen Excalibur? John Borman's Excalibur?
No.
So if you want to see how to badly make a brilliant film about King Arthur... No, how to brilliantly make a bad film about King Arthur. Excalibur's the benchmark.
Is it just...
It makes no sense. The plot, I don't even know if there is one, but it just looks ridiculous, and everyone in it is fully committed to being ridiculous. Merlin's on 12 the whole film. Basically, everyone was just off their tits. They decided to make a bit of Arthurian legend-based nonsense, and it's total nonsense, but it's brilliant. It's so entertaining. It looks amazing.
I mean, but that's what this should have been, though.
Exactly. This has got no sense of fun.
Proper Lancish. I quite like... I like the idea of it being a bit cockney.
I thought the idea had more legs than... Basically, it was an idea that needed commitment.
Yeah.
And they came up with a good idea, not a good idea, but an interesting idea, if nothing else, and then failed to commit to it massively and tried to then make the Clive Owen shit film from 2005.
Oh, yeah, no bad words of Clive Owen.
It is a shit. King Arthur's shit.
Yes.
And Clive Owen shit, let's face it.
Yeah, he is.
Children of Men's good, apart from that, never mind.
Children of Men is actually really good, yeah. He's no Gerard Butler. despite looking the same and acting the same.
Well, he's just Gerard Butler with a shave and a better aftershave, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's Gerard Butler, but he smells better. I assume. Probably uses like Versace blue jeans, man.
Well, I mean that's better than Gerard Butler, after London.
I imagine Clive Owen sweats Versace blue jeans, man. Or does Gerard Butler sweat that?
I don't think he does.
Gerard Butler sweats Brook.
I think he sweats Manchester red brick. He's just walking around and his red bricks are just falling off of his face.
Do they then find Mischief George?
So Mischief George, no, not Mischief George, no.
Mischief John.
Batlack has been captured.
Everyone's got such a stupid name, I can't remember who the fuck anyone is.
Burt Bacharach has been captured.
Burt Bacharach has been captured by Big Tit John.
Big Tit, yeah. And Batlack's like to his son. He goes.
That's right, because he's got a son who no one's mentioned all film.
No, of course not.
He just turned up.
I mean, this kid has been like walking around like Oliver Twist.
Yeah, he's been Oliver Twisting his way through the narrative, but no one's actually mentioned really, other than his Batlack's son. He's had no time. And they've not even developed the bond between those two because they're busy trying to set up 54 other films.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if they are.
Batlack's injured and gets captured, and then obviously old Jude Law pops in, and the kid runs in to save him, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know him," obviously trying to help him out, and then he cuts his ear off. No, he pretends he's going to. The kid then goes, "Don't do it, it's my dad," or some shit, and you're like, "Come on, mate. Oldest trick in the book.
What a dickhead.
You're meant to be street savvy. Batlack taught you better than that."
What would Arthur Jr. do?
What would Kung Fu George do?
Kung Fu George
probably rabbit punch someone.
What would Goose Fat Bill do?
Just smear himself in fat. Just grease himself down. Do a Bronson. Cover himself in goose fat and run around for 25 minutes. Going, "You can't touch me! Butter my ass! Butter my ass!"
He's worse than Daniel Baldwin.
Ooh. Stern criticism. Fucking hell, mate. It's a bit much. At least he's got work. Jesus.
Right.
So yeah, long story short, Batlack gets bumped off. No one gives a shit, but we're meant to give a shit because he's got a child.
He's one of Arthur's mates, and his kid's like, "Oh no, my dad's killed." Arthur comes and saves the kid.
That's right. He just appears, saves the kid, and makes it out again.
Watches his mate get murdered, and it's like, "All right, come on, kid, hang out with me. You'll go far."
Your dad's dead, but don't worry about that. There's no mourning either. Like normally after that, they have scenes where people look sad and like when they lose Gandalf. And I mean, I keep going back to Lord of the Rings because basically this is cribbed about 90% of the visuals and narrative arcs. But when Gandalf goes off the bridge in Lord of the Rings, there's a scene of them all out in the snow weeping, and Sean Bean's distraught, and
Sean Bean.
Oh God, let's just watch Sean Bean films. But yeah, there's that element, and there's none of that in this. They just forget all the things that, even if they're little scenes, they're why you care about the protagonist because there's an emotional, and they forget all that because they're too busy having everyone go, "He's a bit tasty, blah blah blah. We're going to rob the sword, right? Let's go blag the bookies. Knock off the post office. Job's a good one."
Stab someone in the face. No, this is the part where Arthur, not yet king, throws his sword in the lake. He's like, "I'm done with this."
Is this not
Batlack is dead?
Is this not before? Is this before Rent-A-Cockney? Jeff Bell turns up with the Mischief John scene.
Bell's been pottering about.
He's been in every scene, but he's just not done anything. For those who don't know who Jeff Bell is, he's basically the naff Cockney club owner gangster.
He is absolute Rent-A-Cockney. He's like
Rent-A-Cockney. He's like in The Business. He's in The
Business. He's in quite a few.
He's naff in all of them. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. There's just so much fucking exposition going on. He then throws the sword away, decides he doesn't want to be king.
Yeah.
But then he throws it in the lake, and obviously the lady of the lake throws it back to him. And then there's a whole sequence of about 5 minutes where he just he's struck by lightning.
He's running around the dark.
Runs around
or something, isn't he?
He's just in the mud. He's just basically this whole bit was shot for the trailer. It's just him in slow motion in the mud at 200 frames a second, waving his glowing sword about. And then he realises he's got to go back because why does he realise that? Because he has the vision of his mother getting murdered by Jude. He sees more. The more you get fed up with the plot and it needs to move on, the more he sees of the initial scene where his mum gets murdered. And
things of importance appear once you've given up on the film.
Yeah, basically by the time you've already checked out, they start actually trying to move the plot along. It's just so baggy. Everything's just like.
The part. So he gets the sword back. Then he goes home, and Mischief George is there.
But they've burnt all of his home and killed all his mates, and that's right. Yeah, that's it.
Mischief George is just sitting there.
Is his name Mischief John or Mischief George?
Mischief John.
I don't know. It's a stupid name because he's like a soldier. Everyone in this has got a name like they've just robbed the bookies or a post office.
Apart from Beckham, called Trigger.
Well, he sounds like he's just robbed the post office too.
That's a bit, doesn't he? Mischief John, who's done pretty much no mischief until now.
He's done none. He's not even. His performance isn't even mischievous. It's not like he delights in being a bastard.
No,
he's just a completely plain.
It's like normally when Guy Ritchie introduces a character and has got a name like, I don't know, Bullet Tooth Tony, it's like.
His teeth are bullets.
His teeth are bullets.
He's not the most subtle director.
That's it, and they show him like losing his teeth, and then shooting people in the chest and getting the bullets and turning.
Mischief John has absolutely no mischief. They don't even confirm if his name's really John.
Would you consider killing an entire household and community mischievous or just murderous?
Well, if he does it to the Benny Hill theme tune or something, it's kind of mischievous.
I mean, he might have done.
Like, you know. I mean, again, if they'd left that scene in, I'd have been well up for this film. By this point, I just wish I was fucking dead.
Absolutely.
I was also really pissed.
I mean, I was
not angry. I was drunk.
It got to a point where I was pretty half kind of stopped making notes a little bit. But
yeah, I think my notes wandered at this point. But he uses that same. There's a whole monologue he has about I'm cooking dinner for the missus tonight. Which is again meant to be this chatty cockney thing, but no one's done it for 45 minutes. We blend that off at the start. Like,
I mean, this is the thing. It's like he can only do that character, Mischief John, Jeff Bell, rather.
Well, that's why they cast him. I assume.
He can only do this character. So he comes out and he's like, "I got cooked dinner for my missus. My missus is angry with you, and this is why because you were fanning about in the Darklands." Trying to grab a sword that you threw in the river like a numpty, and he starts like doing that slow, creepy Cockney accent. Sounds a bit like Bricktop in Snatch.
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. Every monologue in this that's not from Jude Law sounds like that. Do you know what Nemesis is? Seen in Snatch. It's all just that shit. It's like Guy Ritchie's so scared of making a film that's not Guy Ritchie.
Yeah.
And this is a mess because he stretches out there and tries to do it.
Yeah.
And then he realises he's not, like, he gets scared or whatever, I don't know. But then he just reverts to type and does another, I'm telling a story, really quick edited scene, and then there's like a Nemesis Bricktop scene. And you can almost you could probably, if Snatch was 8 hours long, you could probably overlay Snatch or Lockstock on this film and the beats would work the same.
It would be like the prequel to Snatch.
Yeah. Snatch Year 1. Lads in the pit of Mordor. So then that makes fuck all sense. And the gag about I'm cooking for my wife or I'm cooking dinner tonight. Literally, there's another point where Charlie Hunnam goes to someone, "You're cooking dinner tonight." Is like a bit of a he says it. I'm sure Shimon Hounsu when they first meet. He's like, "Come on, get going. It's your turn to cook dinner tonight." It's like, is this like a running gag? The medieval times running gag is just it's your turn to cook dinner. Like you just accuse someone of having to cook dinner. Like where have they got this and why do they keep leaning on it?
I'm not cooking dinner. I promise. That's a woman's job.
You call yourself a man? You're going to cook dinner?
It's my time to cook dinner tonight, isn't it? Because I'm Jeff Bell and I cook dinner.
Good old Jeff Bell.
Good man. I do actually like Jeff Bell.
I don't. I think he's shit.
Do you?
I think he's shit and he's in everything.
I think I like him just because he's very typecast, even more so than Ray Liotta. He's just like.
Jesus, that's typecast.
He's like I'm the slanty face.
Is he more typecast than Vinnie Jones?
I think he might be because Vinnie Jones has been a superhero. I can't imagine.
When's Vinnie Jones been?
In Juggernaut. It was Juggernaut in X-Men too.
Yeah, but he just played Vinnie Jones.
He played
they
Vinnie
just put
Jones.
a big helmet on him.
They put a big helmet on him.
And he was that's one of the most awkward performances
it really
ever.
is.
Oh, the Juggernaut, bitch! That's terrible.
Could you imagine?
I forgot about that.
Could you imagine Jeff Bell dressed as the Juggernaut or any type of superhero?
Yeah, good. It would be exactly the same. Just him going, "Oh, I'm Jeff Bell, bitch." It wouldn't be any different. It would be the same fucking performance.
Oh god.
So they do that, and then they just decide to go fight it out, don't they?
Then Arthur surrenders himself to be executed. He's like, I'm gonna go see Jude because it's my time to be killed, and because I need to protect my gang, my clan, my family, my Madge. Madge, I think has Madge been?
No, she's been captured with the son. So Backlack's son has been taken, and the mage,
right,
and that's actually what Jeff Bell forgets to tell the audience in his monologue.
Yeah,
in between talking about doing fajitas for his wife, he forgets to mention that like all the main characters are down at the castle, and Jude Law's going to bump him off unless Charlie Hunnam turns up.
Yeah. So Hunnam pops down. He's like, I've come to save the day. here I am. And the mage, before seeing Hannon off on his way, gets like some weird snake out of her sleeve to bite him in the neck.
That's right, he gets bitten in the neck by her snake, and then she's like, it'll only last a few hours.
It doesn't.
And I'm like, have you just picked up drugs at a festival?
It sounds like that,
It's
doesn't it?
just all a bit, it's all a bit...
And he starts like tripping out a lot as well, full of snake venom now.
But even that, it's like, again, all the bits where he's like, because he has a lot of visions within the film, but they're shot exactly the same as the normal stuff.
Yeah.
More or less, except it's a bit windy, like exactly like Lord of the Rings. The spirit world is just a bit windy.
Yeah.
It's like there's a bit of a breeze on. Which again, I don't understand why you'd bother. Come up with something original, make it super psychedelic or whatever, you know, just commit to something.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's again, so he gets bitten by a snake and then he turns up and Jude Law's going to execute him. And then
there's like, the snake gets carried over to Jude Law's place
on an eagle, which the mage is flying the eagle.
But is that...
Because her eyes look like the animal she controls.
But is that...
Because at one point she has Ray Liotta's eyes and it just sidetracks into unlawful entry for her. No, it doesn't.
Great film. Is that not the same eagle? We're probably not, I don't know.
Is it the same eagle that carries Gandalf in Lord of the Rings?
As racist as this
Probably.
As racist as this sounds, I can't really tell eagles from each other. But is it the same one that sees him in the Darklands and picks up whatever animal is going to kill him and drags it off somewhere?
I don't even remember that bit happening, so maybe.
You got saved by an eagle.
Oh right, yeah, then probably. That sounds like it's going to save by an eagle.
Sounds like a great banner.
Saved by an eagle. I mean, it's literally the same as Lord of the Rings when Gandalf gets saved by a fucking eagle.
There you go.
It's just fucking it's like any film, any fantasy film where you don't know how to get a character out of a thing.
Get an eagle out.
Just throw an eagle in there, I'll just pick him up. You seen that video on YouTube with a baby getting picked up by an eagle? Yeah, that, but with Gandalf.
Yeah.
It's fine. The snake gets picked up by an eagle.
Taken to a new place, dumped on like the roof or something.
And then it turns into a massive snake that looks shit.
No, it doesn't, yeah.
Oh, doesn't it?
It like potters about in the place trying to find a way to kill Jude Law. And Jude Law, privy to it, he sees it and then he just slaps it with his sword.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And I've never seen a Jeff Bell film where it's not been splattered with blood. This time it's
Is Jeff Bell in that scene?
He is, yeah.
Alright.
And it's like it's splattered with snake blood, which I've never seen before. But he still gets splattered with blood.
So standard Jeff Bell.
Classic Jeff Bell.
Classic Jeff.
Yeah. That will never change.
Old blood splatter Jeff.
Blood splatter Jeff.
Old blood splatter Jeff.
You're only meant to blow the bloody Jeff Bells off.
You're only meant to blow the Jeff Bells off.
I'm Mischief John, bitch.
Anyway, the snake gets cut up, that's right, they all get sprayed in the blood.
And it turns into a bigger snake at this
Yeah, but right. So this point again, this is like the rules of the film at this point start to cease to make sense. When they save Charlie Hunnam at the start, and they all have to raid when he's getting executed and bail him and the sword out.
Yeah.
Why doesn't she just send a fucking 100-foot snake in, which she can do?
See,
there's loads of rules that seem to apply. That there's no law to the film. Like,
this is
she can make a massive snake at the end when it's impressive for the plot, but she can't do it earlier when they need to bust him out of prison.
This is one of my anguishes with a lot of fantasy type films and TV shows. Game of Thrones being the biggest one of them.
I've never watched that.
I've never really.
I haven't got a
into
spare
either.
8 years.
But I watched this one episode. Out of I was into series, whatever series it is now, 7 or something.
God knows.
And this woman was like, "I'll just fly in on my dragon." And then 3 weeks later, someone told me that she had 7 more dragons. I'm like, why don't you just turf up with 7 dragons?
Take 7 dragons.
Wipe everyone out.
Yeah, it's the same. Like, if you've got this big snake, why not make the eagle fucking massive?
Exactly.
And that can pull the lid off the castle. It can just take the lid off like a bloody Dairy Lee
Get them to work
Dunker.
together.
Get the lid off,
Dragon
and then just
community.
then chuck a load of big snakes in. And if the eagle can go down the Badlands or Darklands or whatever it's called, go pick up a bunch of them.
That fighting rat.
Drop all them fighting rats in like a bloody airstrike. Just loads of fighting. I mean, it would have been a better film.
It would have been a much better film.
Oh yeah, there's just rules that don't seem to make any sense.
Anyway, the big snake polishes everyone off apart from
Jude Law,
our boy Jude,
who makes his escape downstairs.
Of course he does.
And he then
leaves Mischief John to fight the snake.
Yeah, old Big Tits John's.
I'm Mischief John.
Oh, Mischief John, snake. So Mischief John's getting headbutted by a CGI snake or
That's
whatever.
it, yeah.
Charlie Hunnam just kind of disappeared. Jude Law makes an escape, but and then there's a bit that I genuinely missed this at the start and end. Jude Law sacrifices his wife to be able to turn into this giant demon thing, which he then uses to kill Uther Pendragon. And then at the end, I was like, he stabs his daughter and throws her in the lake.
Yeah.
So he can turn into this big demon again.
That was not well explained.
No, I didn't. I only knew that when I looked up the plot on Wikipedia before we started this recording.
I mean, there's no other way to find out.
Literally, because there's no clues in the fucking
there's no
film.
Clues, no. But he does that, turns into a demon thing, which we kind of were alluded to that was.
Well, we knew that
because,
we knew that was the thing anyway.
But that's what killed his dad, wasn't it?
But it just wasn't very clearly explained that you have to dump someone in the lake every time.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, the mage then decides she doesn't want to make any big animals that can help the fight, and it's just Charlie Hunnam with his glowing sword versus big demon guy. And
he's like 5 times the size of him.
And it dispatches pretty quick. Yeah.
It might be Vinnie Jones.
Oh, it would be great if Vinnie Jones turned up for the last, for the end reel.
Even if he just like appeared as like Trigger at the end.
What?
I put on a bit of weight and aged a bit, and. You know,
I mean, I think they should have just brought David Beckham back.
I'm bulletproof Trigger.
I'm bullet face Trigger, bitch. Anyway, I feel we've digressed. Point is, it wraps up so quickly. I didn't begging for the end of the film, and then it happened without me even noticing.
You know what I hated about this end scene is, you know what?
It's all made of CGI that doesn't look convincing.
See, the one thing I hate a bit more than that, people are fighting at the end of fight scenes, in those big fight scenes at the end, and they're interjecting like big parts of dialogue about why they're better than them and why they're doing this.
Yeah.
It's like, just stop talking.
They're basically trying to explain all the plot points they hadn't hit earlier in the film.
That's literally what happened. It's like, you killed my father. I'm your blah blah blah.
Well, no, I found that quite handy because I dozed off about 17 times during the film and was drunk as fuck. It was quite handy that Charlie Hunnam just relayed most of the plot at the end, and I was like, right, now I know where we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, ideally, as a director, you'd aim to deliver the plot the first time round.
There we go.
As opposed to having a recap at the end and do the whole thing in 4 minutes.
Anyway, he polishes off our boy Jude, the best thing in the film.
And it's a shit fight as well. It's not even a good like.
He's got like a double-edged kind of.
He's got like a scythe. It's kind of like a Reaper's
double-edged scythe, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like a Reaper's scythe.
Like he loses that fight, and then we go back home with Helen and his boys. And Hunnam's now king, because of course Vortigern was the king before.
And Hunnam's now binned him off.
Yeah, and now he becomes King Arthur, which is
the name of the film.
The name of the
film. So there's possibly a spoiler in the fucking marketing.
Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? Yeah, who saw that coming?
I think it was called Arthur though. You just think it was like the sequel to Alfie or something.
God. Or it would be the film Arthur. With
maybe.
There's a terrible remake with Russell Brand.
Oh,
and the original was.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
What was the name of the guy who did Oscar the Flying Piano? Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore
was the original Arthur.
Was he? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
And then Russell Brand was in the remake, and
that was awful.
I'd not seen it, but it looks ghastly.
Oh, I've seen it. I wish I had.
It looks absolute toss. Again, there's nice ideas that just don't work. Like when he's got the round table and it's not finished, it's a three-quarter table, and everyone's like, "What's this?"
Pop stupid gangsters.
But then,
what is it?
And then
half a wheel of cheese.
Yeah,
What is it?
Like, it's made of wood. It's not cheese, is it?
Triangle. What is it? A sundial.
I quite like how, in a moment of potentially, after all the hard work they've done to make the Knights of the Table kind of, they cover all the races and creeds. I like how the Asian guy goes, "Is it a disco table?" Like, no, it's a karaoke bar, mate. Oh yeah, you love a bit of karaoke, don't you? Get yourself a nice little Japanese. Get yourself a Yamazaki whiskey. You love one of them.
Go on,
bit of karaoke.
You'll be alright.
It just all. I mean, yeah, and it's like obviously, like the thing is, again, if that was like the start of a film, or if you already knew the characters and that was the end bit, you'd be like, "Way, all the gang's finally together." But they've had no time to do any of this because they're trying to do every other film at the same time.
I mean, what I think should have been like, I don't know.
I think the way it would have worked best, start small, low stakes.
Yeah.
Do like a Dirty Dozen style film about Arthur meeting his crew.
That's what you need.
Set up the plot of him being the abandoned son of the king and all that. Fuck the sword and the magic off completely for now, and just have him and his rogue guys meeting the other guys and them kind of learning to work together to get the sword back.
Yeah.
Film 2 is then getting the sword and binning off Jude Law.
And learning what the sword is about.
Yeah, exactly, and doing all of the Darklands shite that was packed into this one. And then from there you can go off wherever you want.
I mean,
or just don't make 6 films. I don't know why this needs to be a 6-film universe.
I mean,
it's all this Marvel shit infecting...
It definitely shouldn't be one film though. All of that should not be in one film.
It felt like about 80.
The War is a different film at the start.
I was bored senseless by the end of it.
Too, yeah. But,
it's like that war in Lord of the Rings. It's exactly the same start. It's setting up the whole plot with the war from prehistory.
Yeah.
Took took 20 minutes and they set up everything beautifully. This, after 20 minutes, I still didn't really know what the fuck was going on.
They didn't do 20 minutes though, that's the problem. They did it in like half a minute. They did it in like 15 seconds.
Yeah, maybe they should have done more of that.
That's what I think they should have done.
It was just a mess.
You get a bit of a story about who his dad is at the start if you do that. If you make it 20 minutes as opposed to 5.
You actually care about why his dad's died or whatever.
Yeah, you actually care about his dad.
I mean, this film just felt like a million different people.
It's like the start of Backdraft as well. It's like, oh no, what a great film. But I mean, you get to like meet Kurt Russell's dad in it. You know, Paul's dad, who was actually played by Kurt Russell as well, which is quite confusing. But
is he?
Kurt Russell's dad in Backdraft is played by Kurt Russell, and then Kurt Russell himself.
Is he actually?
Being bald. Yeah.
I've never noticed that.
The only difference is he's got a moustache.
Maybe that's what fooled me. Maybe that's what fooled me. I've seen Backdraft about 100 times, and I sort of have never registered that.
No, the kid, what's his face? Russell is played by Russell himself.
Right, I didn't know that.
Father Russell, sorry, played by
anyway,
Russell, yeah.
But yeah, this one's just a fucking mess, and it could have just been a crackpot laugh. Like it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be a big, impressive. Like it doesn't need to be like a film for the ages. It just needed to be a good bit of popcorn nonsense.
Absolutely.
And instead, it's just a fucking bloated mess of Guy Ritchie-isms packed in against Arthurian legend, and
it's wrong. It's wrong, Guy Ritchie. That's the problem with it. Because like, it's Guy Ritchie going back to gangster stuff when not being in a gangster film.
And as well,
I mean, it works well in the Man from Uncle. I know you've not seen it, but it does. It's not the best film in the world ever either. It's far from that.
It's not supposed to be though.
It's acceptable. It's acceptable for people who do like the Man from Uncle series. I like that quite a lot.
Yeah, great show.
It's phenomenal. And it works quite well. It's got that kind of 60s vibe of split screens everywhere and
nice. See,
and jazz flute and stuff.
The thing I find interesting with this is these films are meant to be big and epic and sweeping shots of battles. Guy Ritchie's never done that before, and he doesn't do it in this.
No.
Every shot is like 12 people max.
Exactly.
Like there's none of the sweeping, the stuff you need for this to work. He can't do, or he's never demonstrated he can do, and he forgets to do any of it in this. It's still shot like a little gangster film about robbing a post office, and it's not that at all in scale.
And this is kind of what worries me about future films he does. So he's billed to do the next Aladdin film.
That's going to be a car crash.
Is that going to be like, I don't know, Black the shawarma shop?
We'll Black a flying carpet shop.
That's it.
Bit of Barney rubble. That lamp's a bit tasty. Here, that genie's done his lambago.
God. We'll Black the moss, get on the flying magic carpet.
Although Disney are so tight with their kind of, they'll just fire him before they let him ruin it. Look at what they've done with Star Wars.
He's true.
They'll bin him off before they let him fuck it up.
He's pretty heavily involved in it at the moment,
but they fired Lord and Miller off the Han Solo film like 6 months into shooting.
Oh really?
Yeah, they've replaced him with Backdraft director Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Full circle. See how
Howard.
I brought that round. But yeah, they've replaced him with Ron Howard like 6 months into shooting or something.
I'm looking forward to that now.
Well, I'm just hoping they bin off Guy Ritchie before he's done 6 months worth of shooting.
I'm hoping they get Ron Howard.
I love it. He's like the caretaker of Disney.
He really is.
Shit, it's gone down the pan. Get me Ron Howard.
Ron Howard. Get me the hotline to Happy Days.
Who was the guy who did Backdraft? Yeah, get me him. Get me him.
God.
So anyway, that was episode 11 of Sunday Club. Guy Ritchie's King Arthur.
We're only down to bloody King Arthur bookies, blacking the bullet tooth John.
Starring Fat Stick Bill.
Backlack
Maskell and myself, Matt and Ash.
Yes.
We've had all the Heinekens. I wish I couldn't remember as much of this film as I could, and I wish I'd have slept. I wish I'd have slept through more of it than I did. Catch us on Twitter at Purple City Co. Obviously for the main the mothership.
And I'm Ardnut Ash, also known as only_Ash on Twitter.
And I'm
Bullet Tooth Bayfield.
I'm Goose Slick Burma. Goose Slick Shave, aka Burma Shave. So that's at Burma Shave _. And if you want us to review a film that's not shit, please suggest one because we keep hitting clangers. Which is kind of our oeuvre, if you want. Sorry about it. And if you know anyone with a fucking dickhead name, it's Goose Stick Pete, tell them to tweet us because we'd love a bigger list of ridiculous names involving the word stick, fat, and goose.
Verbal Henry.
Grease, crease, Peter.